Chapter 26. I am the princess of the Thousand Hands clan. Tsunade wanted to say this. I can think of my misunderstanding with Ron. She just opened her mouth. Besides, the Thousand Hands clan is gone long ago. What kind of princess is she? Even the bodies of Grandpa and Second Grandpa became that way. You didn't hear me? Call me master. Ron slapped at the round behind. Tsunade trembled all over. Blood was everywhere in front of me. She could stand because Ron was holding her. Tsunade closed her eyes. The voice trembled. You shouldn't be like this. Ron leaned into her ear. I said, if you want to blame yourself. Isn't you really calling? Watching Tsunade's body tremble. He closed his eyes, as if he ignored whatever he said. Ron turned his head and looked down. Kill them. Ron, don't. The voice is plain. But the murderous intent contained in it. But it made Tsunade open his eyes in panic. He quickly looked down. I saw that the steel armor was fully fired. Palms, chest, and even back. All laser beams are emitted. Each beam of light has dozens of meters. Like a sharp blade. Cut off all objects. Including chakra that forms ninjutsu. Caught out of control. More than a dozen ninjas were killed. Even Sarutobi Hinashen was cut off one arm directly. Sudden severe pain. Let Sarutobi Hiruzen's battle rhythm be disrupted. The intelligent system of the iron armor captured this moment. A flame ejected from the back. Quickly approached Sarutobi Hinasen. A sharp blade pops up on the feet. He kicked from bottom to top. If this kick is solid, Sarutobi Hinashao will be cut into 2 pieces. No. Tsunade exclaimed softly, trembling. The whole person leaned against Ron. It looks like a injured cat. At this time, she no longer cared about phobia. No, she didn't know whether she was phobic or not. She dared to look straight at the battlefield. But I dare not look directly at Ron. Jiraiya was instantly in time. Come to Sarutobi Hinako. Kick off the steel armor and save Sarutobi Hinashen. The steel armor fell to the ground hard. A strong dust splashed. The big toad he summoned took the opportunity to slash on the steel armor with one sword. Cut the steel armor into the ground. Great, Gwen is so big. Did you succeed? Jiraiya looked at him excitedly. The steel armor does not have chakra. Not even a living thing. They can't perception the situation inside the dust. However, at this time, Toad Wenta suddenly changed from one hand to holding a knife with both hands. The big cigarette puddle in his mouth was bitten off. He yelled with gritted teeth. Don't shout, Jiraiya, come and help. I can't hold it back. What? Jiraiya was shocked. Toad Wenta is also a very powerful existence in Miamu Mountain. Its huge size also represents the ultimate power. It can be said that those present. Just Tsunade's strange power can be compared with its power. It was obvious that Toad Wenta's hands were trembling. I really can't hold on anymore. A blue chakra light ball lit up in Jiraiya's hand. Smashing at the steel armor. Raise Nan. Boom. A Euro trademark A wave of air was centered on the spire ball and the steel armor. Swinging towards all directions. The ground where the steel armor is located. A big hole was smashed. At the same time, Jiraiya took advantage of the force of the recoil. Back. But just as he jumped in the air. When you can't borrow power. A beam of light shot out from the ground. It penetrated Jiraiya's chest directly. Steel armor does not rely on the eyes to observe the enemy. But the miniature satellite in the sky. As long as it is within the range of the satellite. I can't escape its control. Looking at Jiraiya, who flew up high and landed on the ground and bounced twice. Ron murmured softly in his mouth. I just said that the steel armor is the strongest when fighting alone. What's the use of having to wear it on your body? Is it a burden? At this moment, Jiraiya's combat power is at least 1500 or above. Haven't made any magic skills yet. If you use immortal arts. Even if Ron explodes with all his might, he can't beat anyone. And there are 4 more people on the battlefield. Steel armor 1v5. They couldn't raise their heads. If there were dozens or hundreds of armors like this. During the war in New York. Tony can block the space passage alone. Massacre of Chi Terry's army. Please. Please. Stop it. The following series of changes. Tsunade can't react at all now. When she sees it clearly. Jiraiya had been penetrated by the light beam. What identity do you use to beg me? Ron's voice was unraveled. Just looked at Tsunade so faintly. Below, Jiraiya was suddenly attacked. Toad Wen is too distracted. The light behind the steel armor was shining. Forced to push its big knife away. Fly back into the air again. The armor was covered with dust. The armor shell has some paint off. It looks embarrassed, but in fact it has no damage to the shell. There is no Ron stop command. It has no pause. Locked the target and rushed straight to Jiraiya, who was seriously injured. A laser light emerged from the palm of your hand. Cut off horizontally towards Jiraiya's body. This moment. The scarlet red in Tsunade's memory was finally completely replaced by Ron's face. Relying on Ron's body. Tsunade shouted in a crying voice. Master. Please. Stop. Ron said, stop. Chapter 27. A Euro swish. A Euro trademark on the battlefield between Union and Union. Steel armor flew over the sky. On the ground. 3 figures walked slowly. It was Ron, Tsunade, and Shizun 3. Ron walked in front. Tsunade is half the body in the back. Head slightly lowered. Turn a blind eye to the corpse not far away. Instead, he looked at Ron's eyes from time to time, with a hint of horror. Well, her phobia was cured by Ron. It's just now it's Ron's disease. When she was extremely fragile inside. Constantly stimulating. In the end, she completely lost her self-esteem in front of Ron. Ron did not start a massacre in the end. Jirei was not dead. Stop and shout in time. Just broken arm. The kind that can never be picked up again. If it is 1 second slower. Jilla became 2 pieces. Sarutobi Hinako's arm was also unable to be held. After her stopping, Ron saw this. Let the steel armor cut Shimura Denzo's arm. Focus on fairness. Orochimaru he didn't move. It's useless to cut it. Once he opened his mouth and was intact, he could drill out of his mouth. Just like a snake shedding her skin. There was still mucus on her body. It's disgusting to think about it. Ron didn't want to see that scene. Just let Orochimaru go. Finally he controlled the wooden man. The Naruto building was shot into ruins. Then he turned around and left. However, he did not expect it. As soon as he left the village, Tsunade followed. In addition, Shizun chased Tsunade. That's it, from 1 person to 3. Ron, Lord Ron, why did you become like this? Looking at Ron and the others, silent eyes were complicated. Obviously not like this before. Why did it suddenly become like this? Ron chuckled, I've become like this. Then, what should I be like? The smile is sunny, charming, and a hint of color. Silently recalled the scene when I first met Ron. A mouth is colorful, but kind-hearted. I'm so generous. I'm willing to spend money to treat us to dinner for the first time I met. Ron turned his head and grinned at the 2 of them. What, I don't smile sunny now, aren't it charming? Tsunade's body shivered. The legs are unnatural and tight. She is now allergic to Ron's smile. Just smile and your phobia will worsen. The scene of standing on the wooden man's head will appear in my mind. Although it won't get weaker. But he subconsciously wanted to escape. It's far away, until you can't see Ron. But I don't know why. Even if Ron didn't say she couldn't leave. Every time I want to leave, I will stop subconsciously. There is a voice, it seems to be said again. She doesn't want to leave. Not willing to leave Ron. Only by staying with Ron can she be happy. But she thought in her heart. You can't leave yourself. Leaving will aggravate Ron's misunderstanding. It's all because of yourself. That made Ron misunderstand Konoha. I am atonement now. I always think so. She would be determined to follow Ron. Looking at Ron's smile. Mute trembled, it's not sunny, it's scary. Hey. Ron narrowed his eyes. Then do you want me to be astringent to you? Jing-Ian quickly took 2 steps back and hugged her chest with both hands. However, when looking at Ron again. But he had turned his head and walked a long way. She frowned her nose in anger. Lord Ron is so annoying. Trademark but it seems that Lord Ron has not changed, he is still as bad as before trademark. Thinking of this, she felt much better. He trotted and chased after him. Sir Ron, where are we going now? Ron didn't look back. Go and collect the corpse of the 3rd generation of Thunder Shadows. Ah. Ron remained silent along the way. He was sorting out the gains he got from the 2 of Senju Hashirama. Qian Shao Hashirama brought him the Immortal Body, would escape. The Immortal Body comes from Ashura. It is also because of the natural Immortal Body. Only Hashirama Senju can turn on the magic mode at will. Not Ron had guessed before. He signed a contract with the Wet Bonelin. However, Ron is not strong enough now. Wait until his strength breaks through to the shadow level. The combat power reaches more than 500 points. You can almost enter the Immortal Art mode. At that time, start the Immortal Method, would escape, and thousands of hands. You can barely participate in a Super Shadow level battle. The combat power of Super Shadow is 10 times that of the Shadow level. Note that it is a numerical value. Ron found that the higher the combat power, the harder it was to improve a little. But every improvement is a little bit. Compared with the previous point, the improvement effect will be greater. So, it seems that the value is only 10 times. In fact, the actual combat power is 100 times and 1,000 times different. Just like during the 4th Ninja World War. Uchiha Madara fights against the ninja in the ninja alone. Put 1v in the entire ninja world battle. It became his personal stage. Put it in the world of Marvel. Among the Avengers, only Hulk can stop him. Thor almost happened during the Battle of New York. If you want to say that what Senju Hashirama brings is power. That Senju Tobirama gave him countless skills and ideas. He is worthy of being a master of forbidden arts. In memory, there are countless forbidden techniques. There are also a large number of human experimental records. It can be said that in experiments, compared with Tomomi Senju, Orochimaru are all younger brothers. Especially the experiments against Uchiha Sharingan. It can be said that Senju Tobirama knows Sharingan more than Uchiha. What kind of dark art? Fly Thor slash. Wait and wait. Now, when Ron meets Uchiha, he will kill him instantly. Wait for him to get the body of the 3rd generation of Lei Shadow. It can be said that it is ninjutsu or physical skills. There are not many in the entire ninja world that are stronger than him. As for the few slap in the woodman casually slapped to death. He only added 80 points of combat power to him. As for memory, it is optional. In addition to practicing, he is to perform tasks such as Sarutobi Hinaru and Shimura Denso, which are invisible to people. Ron glanced and left it aside. Chapter 28. Wood leaves. All the heads of the Nin tribe in the village gathered together. Wood escape reappears. And the user is also Konoha's enemy. They have to know why. Sarutobi Hinashen at the moment's mood is extremely complicated. Use Senju Hashirama's body to do the experiment. It was his permission. Later, although the experiment was stopped on the surface. But secretly, Shimura Duan hid in private research. He knows this. But unexpectedly. The Thousand Hands clan actually has such pure descendants of blood. A man with iron armor can make Konoha unable to raise his head. There was also a wooden man eyeing him. It is so powerful that it is hard to imagine. When he came back, he specially put away the bodies of Hashima Senju and Tomomi Senju. Is this a warning to us? For our revenge against the Thousand Hand clan? Sir Naruto, a wood exit owner, why would he attack Konoha? Hinata Hiratsuki glanced at the three of them's broken arms. Asked everyone's thoughts. Sarutobi Hiruzen picked up the pipe with his right hand and took a sip. The smoke covered her face and then spoke slowly. It's because of some misunderstandings. What kind of mistake? Sir Naruto, what kind of attitude did the ninja in the village face him? Chu Daoding spoke subconsciously. But it was interrupted by Nara Kazuhiro. Shake his head at him. The involvement of wood escape is too big. The name of Konoha comes from this. This kind of thing cannot be asked. And he went to the cemetery to check it out. The tombs of the first and second generation Naruto are empty. The other party Euro trademark's goal is clear. The misunderstanding is likely to be related to the bodies of the two Narutos. 80 Most of the people involved have 3 generations of Naruto. Otherwise, why were the 3 of them cut off their arms? So we can't go into it. But the Villagia Euro trademark's attitude towards it must be asked clearly. Should I treat it as a rebellious person or as my own person? At least, let everyone know. Smart people are not just Nara Kazuki. Others also looked at Sarutobi Hinasen. He took a deep breath of cigarette. After all, it's just a misunderstanding. I sent Tsunade to persuade him to return. As for the ninjas in the village, if they meet them when they are on missions, they will ignore them. If the other party has any needs, do your best to help. Send Tsunade? Is this trying to get Tsunade into bondage with him? There is also the silent person who follows Tsunade. One is hot and the other is pure. These 2 types of beauties. It has covered 99% of men's preferences. He is worthy of being the 3rd generation of Naruto. I suffered such a big loss. He can also send Princess Thousand Hands out without changing her face. Everyone present nodded thoughtfully. Yes, Lord Naruto. On the battlefield between Yin and Yin. The 3rd generation of Lei Ying delayed time for his subordinates. Alone, facing the army of tens of thousands of rock hidden. Above the army. 3 generations of Earth Shadow Oniki. Flying in the air, ready to release dust escape at any time. Oniki. I've gotten my place, let's fight head on. You don't deserve to be a Terab figure if you let your subordinates die. On the ground, a awakened ninja kicked to death. The 3rd generation of Thunder Shadow shouted to the sky. Oniki ignores his provocation. The seal of dust escape was pinching in his hand. From time to time, he commanded the IWA ninja to siege the 3rd generation of Thunder Shadows. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Lei Ying actually learned from Tomomi Senju and cut off the back of his subordinates. Did he really think he was invincible? The younger brother of the ninja god, Tomomi Senju, was dead. Does he think he can still run? As long as I am restricted. He will make up for a dust escape. Let Lei Ying die and die no longer. The 3rd generation of Rayon saw through his thoughts. The figure has always maintained a high-speed movement. Never stay in one place for more than 1 second. The terrifying body made him bloody wherever he passed. It seemed like a dragon ran through the crowd. Just break out of a road without a man. Oniki. You're a coward. If you have the ability, you can come down, let's fight alone. I'll give you 1 hand. I will only let my subordinates die. Iwaki actually has a shadow like you. It's really Iwaki's sorrow. You think Iwaki has too many ninjas? Death a little more and reduce the pressure on Iwaki village, right? Your shadows don't take you seriously, are you still working for him? Lei Ying punched a rock ninja with 1 punch. While making a mouth gun. The terrifying physical strength made him rush in the crowd for a day. The speed has not slowed down at all. It still needs countless people to resist. Only then can he stop his rush. Oniki just flew in the sky. All need to breathe a sigh of relief from time to time. In order to avoid the 3rd generation of Thunder Shadows rushing out. He could only rest for a while and then he had to fly up again. Command the IWA ninja to change the formation in time. Block the Thunder Shadows at any time. In this way, the battle lasted for another 2 days and 2 nights. On the 3rd day, the 3rd generation of Lei Shadow finally slowed down. Chapter 29. What a terrifying endurance. Looking at the 3rd generation of Thunder Shadows who had only become tired after 3 days of Luan Zhan. Silence incredible sigh. Through microsatellites. The iron armor is broadcasting live to Ron and the other 3. Looking at the projection screen, Tsunade sighed, yes. In addition to the Thousand Hands clan, just Union's Thunder Escape Chakram mode has the greatest increase in the body. My grandfather can't beat him when competing with his body simply. Limit the 9 tails. Whether it is Uchiha Madara or Senju Hashirama. It is not the soul of one's own body. One is based on pupil technique. One is relying on wood escape. There are only 3 generations of Thunder Shadows. Just relying on the body can hold down the 8 tails. Even if the 8-tailed tail is weaker than the 9-tailed tail. But this also demonstrates the unparalleled strength of his body. Yes, what a strong body. It's mine right away. Ron sighed in his heart. With Lei Ying's ability. In the Marvel world, he finally has a certain degree of self-protection. Plus his stark identity. Even some hidden big shots cannot do it easily. For example, Charles, Ancient One Magician. Luo, Master, you bring us here. Are you going to save him? Tsunade was about to call Ron's name. Ron looked over with a look. She quickly changed her words. Ron shook his head, what are you doing to save him? I'm not familiar with him. I just want his body. Hearing Ron's rare explanation to her. Tsunade was inexplicably excited. Want his body? There was no expression on his face, but the tone of inquiry was cautious. Ron waved his hand and said, you don't understand even if you say it. Tsunade pursed her li. Chapter 30. Onaki, you won, a Euro bang. A Euro trademark. The 3rd generation of Thunder Shadow killed another IWA ninja. He leaned his head and fell to the ground. The opponent who fought for a lifetime was dead. Onaki felt a little lost for a moment. I don't a Euro trademark T know if eat a Euro trademark S better to be happy or melancholy. But the next moment, he was left with anger. I saw a golden red figure. From the sky, he swiftly fell down. It fell to the ground with a bang. Just next to the corpse of the 3rd generation of Thunder Shadow. He saw clearly at this time. Isn't a Euro trademark T this the iron-armored man circulating everywhere on the battlefield of Konoha and Mizuki? Before he could realize anything. Suddenly, several rays of light shot out from the iron-armored man. After killing dozens of IWA ninjas who rushed up. I didn't see any movement from the iron-armored man. Dozens of Iwagen's corpses. The bodies of the 3 generations of Lei Shadow disappeared in an instant. Immediately afterwards, the golden red iron-armored man soared into the sky. In a blink of an eye, it disappeared into the horizon. After putting away the bodies of the 3rd generation of Lei Ying. Ron couldn't wait to flash into the space. The fog is unprecedentedly rich. Obviously, even exhausted. The source energy contained in the 3rd generation of Thunder Shadows is also extremely strong. It is even richer than the source energy of dozens of iron ninjas. Combat power plus 150, a Euro. The mist surged. Although there are many, Ron's current physique is far better than before. The absorption speed is countless times faster. When absorption is complete, feel the sense of power coming from your body. Ron was overjoyed. It is worthy of being the 3rd generation of Thunder Shadow with the ultimate physical strength. It can actually bring such a great improvement to him. The combat power reached 430. The simple physical combat power is comparable to that of the elite Shangnan. Plus the energy in the body. He is already a true shadow level powerhouse. At the same time, I also learned all the ninjutsu of the 3rd generation of Reikha. Including Thunder Escape Chakra mode. And the strongest Thunder Escape armor. Wait until he becomes proficient in Thunder Escape. Refining the body through Thunder Escape. His combat power will also be improved rapidly. Even if you don't use space. Give him some time and reaching the senior film level is not a problem. Plus, would escape and thousand-handed strange power. Comparing to Super Shadow. Finally, I caught up with the first echelon of the Avengers. The pressure in Ron's heart suddenly became much easier. Shortbook Street. Tsunade glanced at the casino frequently. The desire in her heart made her unable to help but want to go in and take a gamble. But whenever I see Ron's back, the passion in my heart is like being extinguished by a basin of cold water. He lowered his head helplessly and followed Ron. Jing Ian, who was standing beside him, looked at this strange scene. I couldn't help but cover my mouth and laugh. She doesn't know now. Tsunade's changes are good or bad. The 3 of them came back to the familiar place. The relationship is closer. It should be. And beside Ron. She didn't have to worry, Tsunade always went to bet. In the end, I lost all my money and slept on the street. Thinking of this, it seems to be like this now, quite good. The 3 people have different hearts. Until Ron picked the hotel. Watching Ron walk in. Tsunade hesitated. Before, the 3 of them were resting in the wild. They are all together, and it doesn't feel anything. Now. How many rooms will Ron open? After a little bit of trouble, I walked in. Then she heard it. Open 3 rooms. A Euro. Tsunade breathed a sigh of relief, but felt a little disappointed. She called her master. Ron didn't know what she was thinking. Arrive at the room. After taking a shower. Through memory, he began to become proficient in recent gains. And in another room. Tsunade soaked in the bathtub. Petals are still floating on the water. Scoop up the water with your hands and pour it on your body. Watch the water droplets flow down. Suddenly Tsunade raised his hand. A Europa. A Euro trademark. I took a photo on the water. Stinky little, stinky low, stinky master. Sir Tsunade, what's wrong? Just as she was about to say something, a silent inquiry came from outside the door. It's okay, Mute, go and rest. Oh well. Outside the door, Jing Ian's eyes were filled with smiles. Before she rested, she would come to Tsunade to ask. The same is true today. But unexpectedly, I just arrived at the door. I heard movement in the house. Then, there was a cautious voice from Tsunade who scolded others. However, she thinks it's pretty good now. All is well. Inside the house. Listen to the silent footsteps and leave. Tsunade breathed a sigh of relief. She looked down at the M-shaped shape on the water. Hold up high. Squeeze the water aside. He subconsciously put his hands on and rubbed them. Gripped his teeth. Snort. I don't believe you won't be moved. No. I'm trying to prevent him from misunderstanding. Not targeting Konoha. As he said that, he stood up from the bathtub. He raised his legs and stepped out. Immediately afterwards, there was a wiping sound. Then, there was only a crunch sound. The door was opened. Tsunade walked out. Chapter 31. Ron who puts his memories with his eyes closed. Suddenly he opened his eyes. Listened to the familiar footsteps outside. He looked at the door. The door was pushed open. Tsunade wearing pajamas at the door was exposed. The pajamas are held high. Ron subconsciously glanced at the depth of his chest. He almost fell into the abyss at first sight. Retract your gaze. Looking into Tsunade's eyes. It was originally a hint of nervous eyes. It seemed like I noticed Ron's gaze. Immediately, straighten your chest. Holding the horror in my heart. Looking at Ron's eyes, he brought a vague provocation. Ron raised his eyebrows. What are you up to? Tsunade stopped talking, closed the door and walked in. This is what you delivered to your door. Ron reached out and pulled her into his arms. Turned his body. Just fell on the bed. Satellite navigation was installed on both hands. 2 overloaded trucks were accurately captured. Tsunade's body stiffened. The legs are subconsciously in tight. The air is filled with hunch. This feeling was beyond her imagination. Eat a Euro trademark S. Not that I have a Euro trademark T done this before. But it has never been like this before. She doesn't understand, it's all hands, why it's completely different. In an instant, the skin around the body was tense. Hit by thunder escape, lightning spread all over his body. The white smoke was blowing, and his whole body was numb. Next second. A warm breath came from my ears. I deserve to be Tsunade. This is my first time trying this with such a slim breast. But, can you relax a little bit? So nervous, my muscles are tight. A Euro trademark S very affecting the experience. A Euro Tsunade lightly bites her red lips. No words said. But he obediently listened to Ron's words. No words all night. Eat a Euro trademark S. Just that the bed in the ninja world is too hard, and eat a Euro trademark S. Uncomfortable to sleep in one position after a long time. Until the morning sun shines through the gaps in the windows. It shone into the house. Looking at Tsunade who fell asleep. Ron exhaled. Depend on. Fortunately, I mastered the thunder escape chakra mode in advance. Otherwise, today I will be embarrassed. Although there are only rays of lightning. Not available for combat yet. But it is good to use it in a Euro battle. A Euro trademark. Even Tsunade Hitomi of the Thousand Hand clan. Thousand Hand's bloodline has greater strength and stronger endurance. But he was defeated by his thunder escape. This made him even more determined to practice thunder escape. Get up and walk out the door. He was not interested in tasting the food in the restaurant. I plan to go back to Marvel World and get some food. Just walked out the door. Just saw, standing in front of Tsunade's door. A mute with a puzzled look on his face. Jing Ian also saw him. Seeing it, the madness in him. He blinked in confusion. Ron asked indifferently, are you looking for Tsunade? Jing Ian nodded blankly, yes. Ron pointed back and said, she is in my room. I'll get some food, don't walk around here. Oh. Jing Ian didn't understand the meaning of his words. The brain is still full of chaos. Even Ron disappeared without paying attention. Master Tsunade, in Master Ron's room? Did you go last night? If you were there that night, what happened? What things about men and women? Master Tsunade and Master Ron? No? As I think about silent eyes brighter. Wow. I was inexplicably excited. Mute opened Ron's door. Then, I saw everything in the house clearly. Mute, A with circumflex trademark 0 A with circumflex trademark. Lord Tsunade seemed very tired. Are you really that tired? That is Tsunade Hitachi from the Thousand Hands clan. Lord Ron is so strong. Jing Ian didn't know what he was thinking. He blushed for no reason. Step by step to the bed. He pounced on him. Very soft. What are you doing? Ron's voice sounded in his ears. The body suddenly stiffened. Look back slowly. Sir Ron, haven't you been to get some food? I used it for an hour last time. Why is it so fast this time? Something happened, nothing was eaten. You guys think of a way, I'm leaving for a few days. Ron said, pulling out 2 watch-style things. Put this on your wrist. When I come back, I will rely on this to find you. He brought it to the silent and demonstrated it. A euro easier Ron, you a euro before Mute finished speaking. Ron's figure disappeared. Marvel World. Ron appears next to Tony again. Wow. It seems that you are living a good life in another world. Tony teased. The eldest brother still said to the second brother. Who has the flowers you can play with? Ron didn't bother to pay attention to him. Keep watching on TV. A middle-aged man with a big beard. Recognized to the outside world. He did all the recent terrorist attacks. Extremely arrogant. This part of the plot appeared in Ron's mind. Iron Man 3. Mandarin. But this Mandarin is fake. The real mastermind is a Avenger who was left alone by Tony all night. Called, what, Killian? Ron can't remember it. He was a foreign language scumbag in his previous life. Watch movies, and see all the translated subtitles. For some cumbersome names, especially supporting roles. I can't remember it at all. What's more, it's still so long. And mainly, Iron Man 3, he has hardly seen much. All I know is that Tony was ruined by bullying. But that's why. He made up his mind to heal the big hole in his chest. However, the prerequisite for treatment is that Tony himself breaks through the knot of his heart. Chapter 32. What do you think of this Mandarin? Tony looked serious. Ron spread his hands. I'll stand and watch. Tony was full of black lines, I'm not kidding. Ron nodded, I know. You Avengers are here. Just a little terrorist. Just take some time and you can solve it. Tony shook his head solemnly. No, I don't think it's that simple. If it was before the New York War, what you said makes sense. But now, he must have some trump card that I don't know. Ron had a smile on his eyes. He just said this on purpose. He definitely knows the opponent's trump card. It's a group of warriors who have injected some virus. Especially that Killian. Even Tony's steel armor can melt. It belongs to Tianqi. However, adamantiums, he shouldn't be able to melt. After all, Wolverine has experimented. The aftermath of the nuclear explosion can withstand it. So, Ron wasn't particularly worried. No matter what trump card he has a superhero Iron Man, there is definitely a way to defeat him Tony took a sip of coffee. The slightly frowned brow stretched out a little. Ethy's Mandarin is hidden very deeply until now, there is no information about him. The longer the time goes on, the greater the harm it will cause. Ron stared at him for a few seconds. I realized that Tony's mental state was a little wrong. A.R.V.I.S. How long has Tony not rested? A.J.A.R.V.I.S. Sir, 72 hours. Tony snapped. A.R.V.I.S. Ron grabbed him. Tony. You should rest. Tony sighed. I know but this world Ron interrupted him. This world is not supported by you alone. The others are working hard too. Do you want to get your body out of order? When he watched movies in his previous life. Read it, Tony Stark suffers from severe anxiety, as well as post-traumatic stress disorder. This is the psychological shadow left by the Battle of New York. It also led to the development of Ultron. The root cause of J.A.R.V.I.S. killed by Ultron. But he didn't expect it. It turns out that in daily life, it is already so serious. Didn't sleep for 3 days. Rely on coffee to support it. Haven't died suddenly yet? Ron really doesn't know whether he should be lucky or the protagonist's aura is strong. Tony's eyes drooped. Negative emotions all over his body. When I raised my eyes again, a trace of despair and fear appeared in my eyes. Not much, but very clear. He raised his hand to the sky. Ron, if there is a big hole in the sky again. Countless alien invasions. How should we stop it? Last time, it was me. I know that you were carrying a nuclear bomb and blowing up the Cheatery mothership. Ron held him down. You have made great contributions, but haven't others bought you time? Since you are in the same league, let's find a way together instead of being alone, take all your anxiety on your shoulders Tony rolled his eyes. Let's find a way together. That stupid Steve, he just said let's work together. He can come up with a big idea. Ron's eyes twitched. Except him but, there is Dr. Banner and the black-brown egg from SHIELD. Tony pondered for a moment. Nodded slowly, Banner. Hulk is powerful Ron was speechless, I'm talking about his wisdom. I have 7 PhD degrees. Oh Tony said nothing. I have more degrees than his all right. The arrogant guy. It should be hit. Ron looked at him, but he developed Hulk. You can't beat Hulk. Your armor is a small toy in front of Hulk so, you have to admit that in some ways, you are trademark not as good as Banner Tony was silent. Suddenly, he grabbed Ron's shoulder. You sway. Ron. I'm your brother. I am your brother. You speak to outsiders. Ron spread his hands, no, I'm telling the truth. Tony pushed him angrily. Snort. Look at it, I figured out how to deal with him. Isn't it Hulk? It's not that I can't make it. I trust you. Ron's words made Tony much happier. But I don't think you can live that time. If you keep going like this, you will die suddenly before you can create it. Tony's mouth twitched. I'll go to bed now. Turning around and about to leave. Suddenly, he caught a glimpse of the smile at the corner of Ron's mouth. Ron, you're not adorable. You never talked back to me before. With your strength, you are hard and you start bullying your brother. When I wake up, you must let you know who your brother is. Chapter 33. Looking at Tony going to sleep. Ron shook his head and smiled. Sure enough, a proud person is no different from a child. J.A.R.V.I.S. Sir, you speak more usefully than Miss Potts. A Ron is in a hurry to go back to Marvel World. It's because of Mandarin. He remembered it correctly, it seemed that Pepper was arrested this time. And Killian was injected with that virus. What is the specific reason for Killian's revenge? Being tricked to the rooftop by Tony, the cold wind blew all night? What is Tony doing? Ron blinked. It seems, to have another female scientist to discuss biology in depth. Oh right. The female scientist was Maya Hansen. It is the main developer of this virus. I don't know, if Tony understands it. Because I can't control myself. All this caused. It also puts Pepper in danger. What would his expression look like? Well, then you will have a good experience. Ron, A.A.V.I.S, record at A. When Tony wakes up, let him investigate Maya Hansen, a female scientist. Also, let him create 2 more sets of adamantium armor, one for Pepper. J.A.R.V.I.S, okay, sir. Hi Ron. Gwen. After coaxing Tony to bed, Ron washed up and prepared to get something to eat. Then, I received news from Gwen. Ask him where he is. He, in New York. Then made an appointment. We made an appointment with Gwen to meet him in an hour. He put on his armor and headed straight for New York. 5 times the speed of sound. 1 hour is more than 6,000 kilometers. Villa Malibu is about 4,000 kilometers from New York. That is, 40 minutes. Ron arrived in New York. There was still 20 minutes left. Give him enough time to go to Stark Building. Removal of the armor. Take a look at Pepper by the way. But Pepper is not in the office. Ron didn't stop. Say hello all the way downstairs. Dare to go to the agreed location. As soon as he arrived, he saw the beautiful young figure. The upper body is a black shirt and a white jacket. The lower body is jeans that show their long legs. From a distance, it is full of youthful atmosphere. Compared with Tsunade, there are 2 extremes. Although not that protruding. But it also has a unique charm. Hey, have you waited for a long time? No, I just arrived. Gwen smiled sweetly at the sight of Ron. He ran 2 steps forward. Both hands spread out and retracted. Fingers kept rubbing. He looked like he wanted to hug but was embarrassed. Ron walked in with a smile, leaning over and hugging. Well, it has a small touch. Besides, Gwen's is not that small. Gwen clearly felt Ron exerting force. He rolled his eyes, but did not push it away. Then stick it together for a few seconds. She reluctantly left Ron's arms. Anyway, it's outside. People come and go. It's fine for a while. She would be embarrassed if it took too long. Ron held her hand and rubbed her belly with the other hand. Where do you want to go? But I'm still hungry. You need to fill it now. Gwen felt the warmth in his hands. I was very excited inside. I couldn't help but want to share my life with Ron. I'll take you to taste the school meals, how about it? Ron smiled slightly, okay. It just so happens that if it's not delicious, I'll pay for your school to improve it. It's small enough, I'll lose weight if I'm hungry. Gwen didn't understand it at first. But follow Ron's gaze. He lowered his head, it happened to be his little bear. Oh, you're so annoyed. Pull Ron and run away. Ron couldn't see behind her. At this moment, her big eyes kept blinking. Small? Not small, right? Trademark Ron likes big ones? Trademark it seems that it is really not comparable to Mary Jane. Trademark but among the peers, that trademark s okay. Trademark however, I am only 18 years old and still developing, and should still be growing. Trademark but eat trademark s too big. Will it look ugly when wearing spider battlesuit? Trademark It's all Ron, what big ones do you like? Trademark I noticed the girl's shy thoughts. Ron didn't say more. Experience the delicateness of the palm of your hand. There is also the beautiful view behind Gwen. Just squinted, he was pulled forward. It seemed as if I felt the hot gaze behind me. Gwen's pretty face turned slightly red. I dared not stop my steps. Until the 2 got into the car. Come to school. The red glow on his face disappeared. Watching the crowded school. Ron was surprised, you are still in class. Then how did you come out? I know Gwen is a top student. But the top student skips classes? Gwen explained with a smile. No skipping classes. I've had enough credits long ago, and I've almost finished my college entrance exams. So, I applied for an internship with the school now, being an intern in Dr. Connor's trademark lab Dr. Connors gave me a holiday today so I had time. Chapter 34. Thinking of Dr. Connors today, she happily announced that she was free to dominate her time. Gwen was extremely grateful. In this way, she will have one day. Be with Ron. Ron suddenly realized. He is worthy of being a top academic master. Complete college courses in high school. But, Dr. Connors? Lizardman? The big villain in Spider-Man. To treat broken arm. Continuously study the feasibility of lizard regeneration and transplantation to the human body. Finally succeeded. It also failed. This is a good helper. Find some time to get in touch with Connors. Others don't know the solution to serum. Doesn't he know yet? And there is Gwen, this mature Spider-Man in. Just Gwen's blood is needed. Lizard serum can be easily developed. Maybe it can be mass-made. This is also just right to prevent Connors from taking the original path. Hey? Helper? Ron blinked suddenly. He seemed to have forgotten something. Forget it, it can't be remembered. Probably not something important. John Wick. As long as the boss is happy. The two came to Gwen's school cafeteria. Looking at Gwen's back as he went to get him food. Full of youthful vitality. Just looking at it simply makes people feel happy. After a while, Gwen came back with the meal. This is what I like to eat, see if it suits your appetite. A euro boom. A euro trademark. Gwen just put down the plate. Suddenly, in the college, the laboratory direction. A loud bang came. Then there were chaotic and miserable shouts. Sorry, Ron, I have to go and have a look. Gwen's face changed. Her fair skin was tense at this moment. An inexplicable danger warning came from the brain. He didn't care about anything else and said sorry to Ron. After saying that, he rushed out. Ron's powerful perception ability emanates. After a rough look, he couldn't help but sigh. It seems that the helper is gone. I can't eat anymore. Get up and follow Gwen and walk out of the restaurant. On the other side, the lab windows were broken. A huge amounts of lizard man, stepping on broken glass. Jump out of the lab roar. Lizard serum affects Connor's brain. The chaotic consciousness made him rage in the school. The sharp claws cut through the obstacle in front of them. The running student attracted his attention. And high school students. As we all know, there is a strong sense of curiosity. After seeing the huge amounts of green lizard, there is also a part of them who stands boldly and looks at it. This look of looking at the monster. Connors was immediately stimulated. He roared and rushed towards the crowd. His eyes were full of tyranny. Just two simple jumps. Just came to a student. A claw passed horizontally. The student was cut in half immediately. Then, the tail swept across. 3 students were swept away. Falling on the ground, the body twisted. Obviously, I can't live anymore. Bright red blood. And the death of classmates. The student who was still stopping and watching turned around and ran away in horror. He shouted help. However, for lizards, the faster you run, the louder the sound, the more you will attract attention. Connors who turned into a lizardman. There are at least dozens of tons of power. A body of about 3 meters, a force of dozens of tons. This represents a powerful explosive power. Beat your legs. The next moment, it had already crossed dozens of meters. Falling among the group of escaped students. God! Who will save me? Get out! Get out of the way, damn monster! Help! It's coming! Save me! Avengers! Where are the Avengers? Come and save me! The students were so scared that they collapsed to the ground. Screaming and crying in despair. The pants under my body gradually became wet. Connors waved his claws in disgust. Clapped the wet students away. Then, only for a short moment. Because of curiosity, more than a dozen students died one after another. It was originally filled with a beautiful campus of youth. At this moment, there are broken limbs and broken arms everywhere. And the ground stained with blood. In the middle, there is a lizard man wearing a broken white coat. Connor's cold vertical pupils kept flashing. Looking for new venting targets. Ron walked out of the restaurant. Take all this into your eyes. This is the world of Marvel. Either facing danger or on the road to danger. Especially New York. But he didn't move. Instead, he looked aside. There, a flexible figure wearing black, white, and pink, 3-color battlesuit. Running out of the toilet. Raise his hand at Connors. A milky white cobweb ejaculated. Stick to his tail. Cobweb is tight. His huge body, 3 meters, was staggered. Hey! Big guy! I'll play with you. Ron, Gwen has never said this to him. Chapter 35. SHIELD. A special alarm sounded. An unknown lizard monster appears in Midtown Science High School. I was wearing white scientific research clothes, and I was suspected to be a scientific researcher. I was mutationed when I encountered an unknown infection. A support is urgently needed. Look at the alarm prompt. Nick Fury looked serious. Who is in New York? Phil Coulson replied, there are no Avengers in New York. Ebener is in the headquarters. Captain, Natasha Romanoff, and Barton are on duty. Nick Fury had one eye move. Where is Stark? Phil Coulson took out his cell phone. I'll contact you now. After more than 10 seconds. The phone is connected. Then soon, it hung up. Stark said he will go but he is in Villa Malibu. It will take nearly an hour to get over. Let's watch the solution. If you can't solve it, just hold it back first. Listen to Phil Coulson's answer. Nick Fury's face turned darker. But he had no choice. Too few people can use it. Although he has a good relationship with Mutant. But Charles is tangling with Mutant Brotherhood. And, there is also the military, targeting Mutant. This led to the trust he and Mutant finally built up. It is also about to face collapse. He really wanted to ask the other party to go out. I guess Charles thought about it first. None of him needs help. But, will he take the opportunity to set traps for Mutant? Want to target X-Men? This is the damn military, the crisis of trust caused. Thinking of this, Nick Fury gritted his teeth. Nodding, Nick Fury was about to arrange someone. Suddenly, Phil Coulson's phone rang. Connect to it. Nick Fury looked at Phil Coulson's expression changing. Until hang up. Phil Coulson twitched. Stark said he wasn't a trademark T going, he wanted to sleep what should I do if that lizard monster? Nick Fury stared at one-eyed. Phil Coulson looked complicated, he said someone will solve it. Nick Fury stared at him. Stark really said that? Phil Coulson nodded, extremely sure. Yes. Nick Fury's one-eyed flashes. Okay, let's keep staring. Also, you still arrange someone to go and support. No matter whether there is anyone to solve the problem or not, find a way to hold on first. Phil Coulson looked straight, yes, boss. Villa Malibu. A.A.R.V.I.S. How long have I slept? A.J.A.R.V.I.S. Sir, you slept for 1 hour and 45 minutes, 38 seconds. You don't have to be so accurate. Tony was woken up by the phone, looking speechless. At this moment, he looked at the satellite projection. The picture is Midtown Science High School. Gwen is fighting Connors above. But Tony's attention wasn't there at all. But it is on a person on the edge of the battlefield. Ron. It was exactly what I saw Ron. He told Phil Coulson that he would not go. Ron can't live under his protection all the time. Have a powerful super ability. He will also be superhero in the future. It deserves worship from everyone. As for whether Ron can't beat it. Looking at Ron's calm expression with his hands in his pockets. He just threw this idea out of his mind. I've only slept for more than an hour and you ran to New York. Tony muttered softly. He glanced at the figure fighting Connors. Although wearing battlesuit. But it is obvious that it is a woman. He had a premonition. Ron went to New York for her. There was a weird smile on his face. Let me check her, well, forget it. Ron is not an ordinary person, so there will be no danger. I'd better not interfere too much in his private life. It's a pleasure to have a girl I like, but a super abilityist. J.A.R.V.I.S. Sir, let me remind you one thing before Ron leaves. Tony was stunned. What? J.A.R.V.I.S. Let you build 2 more adamantium armors. One of them is Miss Potts. Also, let me remind you to investigate a woman named Maya Hansen. Maya Hansen? What a familiar name. Tony frowned and couldn't remember for a moment. I've heard of it where I have. Also, create an adamantium armor for Pepper? He can understand this. I've been thinking this way lately. Just because of severe anxiety. Let him drag this matter on again and again. Etc. Anxiety? Tony suddenly became a little stunned. A conversation with Ron appeared in his mind. Ron seemed to talk about the New York War. Also talk about space channels. I was just a little excited. You know, don't mention it. Even if he just thought about it. They will all experience anxiety, shortness of breath and weakness. Tony came back to his senses, his eyes gradually becoming firm. €1 thank you €. Chapter 36. Gwen's high school campus. Ron's Spider-Woman is still fighting the Connors lizard. But, it has been evenly matched. Then the process. And now. I can only rely on Cobweb to avoid the lizard's sharp claws. Under spider telepathy, dodge attacks again and again. Each time the paws are swung. Gwen could smell the bloody smell on it. By Cobweb. Jump to the top of the stairs. Watching the 4 claws clutching the wall. A lizard monster crawling up quickly. A feeling of powerlessness surged in my heart. It's just a monster that appears in school. I can't even beat it myself. When the Avengers face the aliens. How desperate it should be. I have a lot of thoughts in my heart. But I was dissatisfied with the movements on my hands. Watching the lizard monster that is about to catch up. She raised her hand and shot a cobweb. The body swung along the cobweb. Suddenly, a huge amounts of shadow passed through the sky. It's the lizard's tail. Gwen was in the air and had no time to dodge. Just quickly release the cobweb. Let the body fall down. But the lizard monster is just below. He watched the lizard claws grab her. Gwen's pupils were filled with powerless despair. However, at this moment, a figure flashed with lightning. She suddenly appeared and saw the lizard monster. Kick the big lizard away with one kick. He reached out and held her in his arms. Feel the warmth of the embrace. Gwen didn't know, because of the embrace. It was because of the tiny lightning on Ron. She just felt numb all over. A Euro bang. A Euro trademark. The lizard monster hit the ground and made a loud noise. Gwen looked at Ron in surprise. So, you're so awesome. She thought Ron had only eyes. There is the kind of super ability that can be hypnotic ability. I didn't expect that the power was so powerful. Much stronger than her. The power Ron just showed. At least hundreds of tons. Ron slapped her little A. I can't beat it and I have to show off my power. Are you in danger? Don't say, the battlesuit feels pretty good. Under the mask, Gwen pouted. But he didn't slap Ron's hand away. Instead, he followed him and shook his body. Nothing more than heroes to save beauty. Already in despair. Suddenly, he was rescued by Ron. Don't talk about it. If it weren't for school, they were all humans. She was going to wrap around Ron's neck and kiss him. Ron turned his head and pointed to the lens on the mask. The corners of his mouth curled slightly. Your body tells me that you are not thinking about something you are not thinking. Be good, there are too many people here, it's not suitable. When it's over, I'll take you to find a place with fewer people. Oh okay. Gwen nodded obediently. Suddenly, her expression changed. Careful. Wow. Ron, how did you do it? Gwen was careful not to finish speaking. A sudden flash of tears in front of her eyes. By the time I saw it clearly, I had already arrived dozens of meters away. She remembered correctly, this should be the location of Ron's station before. To avoid the fight affecting Ron, she was walking around with the lizard. Always following Ron. Try to attract the lizard monster to the distance. So how could she not be familiar with it? It appeared here in an instant. What a fast speed. She didn't notice it at all. You know, she has spider telepathy. Ron smiled and said, want to know? I'll tell you when I solve it. Gwen let go Ron, I'll wait for you, be careful. Don't worry. Ron waved his hand. The body is surrounded by electric light. He walked towards Connors who was on all sides and rushed over. Huge amounts of the body soared into the air. Punching at Ron. Two claws came around Ron. The lizardman that Connors became is actually very strong. Not afraid of ordinary thermal weapons. When a bullet hits the body, it will be bounced away by the skin. Only a rifle can break the defense. To seriously injure him, you need a sniper rifle. However, his speed is not slow. Sniper rifles are difficult to aim. In cities, there are many people and cannot use thermal weapons such as RPG. Although far from Hulk. Not even as good as Hatred. But it is entirely possible to eliminate side effects. Carry out batch production. This is why Ron wants to get in touch with him. It's just a pity. Now, we can only let Connors live in his memory. Use Connors' ability. To help more people, just treat it as helping them atone for their sins. Looking at the big green lizard. Ron's body instantly turned into a lightning bolt. Disappeared in place. When it appeared again, it came behind the big lizard. It's just a kick to the back of the heart. The scales on the back were shattered. The big lizard was uncontrolled and hit the ground hard. A big hole was smashed on the ground. Roar, oh. The big lizard climbed up from the pit. He raised his head and shouted at Ron. Ron kicked in the neck. He interrupted his roar. The neck was curiously bent, and it would have been a normal person who died long ago. But powerful recovery ability allows the big lizard to recover quickly. It is visible to the naked eye and becomes exactly the same as before the injury. Chapter 37. You are a great scientist. It's a pity that I'm too impatient. Ron jumped high. Stepping heavily on the lizard. Smash it back into the pit again. Next second. I heard a loud boom 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 sound in the pit. During this period, there were monster roars mixed with them. Countless scales, blood splattered outside the pit. The ground around the pit completely collapsed. Several cracks spread around. It has been spreading for more than 10 meters. The whole school seemed to feel a strong earthquake. Finally, as the pit was in the big hole, a bright light lit up. Hell's Pulse C4 Books of the Masters. Ron with lightning hand. It penetrates the heart of the big lizard. It finally couldn't recover anymore. He twitched twice and stopped moving. The earthquake ended at the same time. The movements in the pit finally disappeared completely. Seeing this, Gwen ran to the pit with concern. The big lizard inside disappeared strangely. Only the naked upper body remained. Ron with distinct muscles and shaped edges. Gwen jumped down and saved Ron. Then he fumbled up and down on him. You have a lot of blood on you. You're not injured, are you? Ron. Are you checking or taking advantage of me? However, after he saw the deep worry in Gwen's eyes, he chose to remain silent. Destined to be his own woman. What's wrong with touching her a few times? Who wouldn't you touch her? Ron's body chakra was shocked. The blood stain fell and he became clean again. Gwen's eyelids twitched. Pretending to not knowing it, he continued to touch his whole body. Then pretend to be sure he was not injured. He patted his small breasts and breathed a sigh of relief. Suddenly, she glared at her eyes. Pull Ron and run away. Go away. You don't even wear clothes, so you can't let others see it. She was thinking too much. Where are there people around? As a survivor of the war in New York, when he encountered a life and death crisis, he had already run away. Those who are not good at brain work are almost dead. Even if you watch the game, you will still watch from afar. Even the two of them couldn't see clearly. Gwen pulled him and ran into a deserted alley. Ron, you wait for me, I'll go for you. Halfway through, I was suddenly blocked. Gwen's eyes widened. Then gradually become blurred. Even lilacs were scattered. The air was filled with an intoxicating smell. The two headlights were shrouded in darkness. The alley suddenly became pitch black. I don't know how long it took. Gwen, who was breathless, pushed Ron away. Ron, you're going to suffocate me to death. That being said, the tone was not as guilty as it was. She didn't take off the battlesuit just now. Just put on a set of clothes outside the battlesuit. She took 2 steps back. I lowered my head to sort out the battlesuit. I made out the wrinkled battlesuit. Then put on the jacket again. Then he glared at Ron with an angrily look. Why are you so dishonest? Ron chuckled, we didn't agree. Gwen was stunned, What did you say? Ron, when we solve the big lizard, we will find a place where no one is. Look, wasn't you just chosen this here? Gwen's eyes widened. What a shameless man. They obviously are afraid that he will be exposed. Let him wait here and find him clothes. He. I'm still thinking about those things. Shocked, she saw that Ron didn't know where to find a piece of clothing. Wear it on the body. Okay, I want a Euro trademark T. Take out the clothes early. She was worried in vain. Thinking of Ron having been watching himself jokes all the time. He also took the opportunity to take advantage of himself. Gwen rolled his eyes angrily. Turn around and walk out of the alley. Ignore you. Ron reached out and pulled her back. That won't work. Gwen was startled. What are you going to do? Ron smiled and said, I helped you solve the big trouble. I saved your life. Gwen stared at him with big eyes. For his next words, he was nervous but also looked forward to it. Ron blinked. It's not too much for you to treat me to a meal. Ah. A hint of loss flashed across Gwen's face. Just treat to dinner. Ron shrugged. What about that? I didn't eat in the morning and I was disturbed just now. I've had a fierce exercise and I've starved to death long ago. Gwen pursed his lee. Chapter 38. SHIELD A Euro dong 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 dong. A Euro trademark. Seal the video. Set it to level 10 confidential. Nick Fury knocked on the table and said seriously. Look around at the same time. You guys, we will sign a confidentiality agreement later. Yes, Director. Everyone present knew that things were going on. There is no hesitation at all. He quickly stood up and replied loudly. Nick Fury glanced around again with one eye. Then he looked at Phil Coulson. Phil Coulson, come with me. One by one, and one behind, walked out of the monitoring room. Silent all the way. Until you enter the director's office. Nick Fury sat on the chief chair. He supported his hands on the table and looked at Phil Coulson with a serious face. Do you know about Ron Stark? The power Ron showed was simply amazing. Even if it is placed in the Avengers. All can be called the backbone. Besides the hammer-wielding Thor, there is the unstable Hulk. No one is his opponent. And Thor is Prince Asgard after all, and is not always on Earth. Hulk may not distinguish between enemies and us when he fights. And from the perspective of strength alone, Captain America is definitely not Ron's opponent. After all, even if he was asked to hold the shield, it also takes constant time to dig out such a big pit. And what about Ron? Purely smashed out with a fist. 4 or 5 meters deep and nearly 10 meters in diameter. The ground around is covered with cracks. If it weren't for the lizard monster's strange disappearance, this big pit still needs to be expanded. Give him time to tear down the entire school with bare hands. More importantly, on the premise of having strong power, Ron may be more stable. The power is weaker than Hulk, but it is enough to deal with the crisis on Earth. Still a pure Earthling. He is also Howard's adopted son. Tony's younger brother. Born to be close to S.H.I.E.L.D. If Nick Fury hadn't understood Buddhism, I wish I could open my mouth and say, this child is destined to be S.H.I.E.L.D. A Euro trademark, then pull Ron and join the Avengers. Phil Coulson shook his head. Boss, I don't know either. He took out a copy of the information and placed it on the table. A Euro is information about Ron A Euro. Since he was picked up by Howard, there have been records on it until now. I checked it several times, but I didn't see anything special. If there is, then, it can only be because of his origin. Nick Fury looked through the information casually. Same as Phil Coulson said. It's ordinary. There is no extraordinary phenomenon. He also understood the last sentence of Phil Coulson. That is, Ron's super ability is likely to come from genetics. Heraldable. Thunder and lightning all over. This feels so familiar. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Ron is obviously authentic Asian. How could Thor have such a baby with such a big blonde hair? That's mutant? Nick Fury looked up. Phil Coulson also happened to see it. 3 eyes are opposite. Obviously, the two of them thought of going together. Nick Fury said in a deep voice, send someone to pick you up. No, you go in person. Finish Tony, get in touch with Ron and see if you can invite into the Avengers. The adoptive father was one of the founders of SHIELD. My brother is one of the Avengers again. This pack is okay. As for mutant, will mutant come here? Joke. After entering his pocket, I still want him to dig it out again? If he doesn't let the other party go, he will not be Nick Fury. Nick Fury just ordered that no extrapolation was allowed. Alexander Pierce's office. Ex-SHIELD Director, Pierce. With Rumlow, Sitville. Watch Ron's battle video. This is. Compared to pure combatants, Rumlow. Sitterville took the lead in expressing his doubts. Pierce pauses video. Pointing at the figure with lightning in the middle. The identities of the other two are not clear yet. But it's Ron Stark. Stark? The two were shocked. Pierce nodded, that's right, it's Stark A Euro Anthony Stark A Euro trademark S younger brother A Euro, the child who was adopted by Howard without blood. I've been demented for 21 years and suddenly woke up this year. I've been awake for several months and until today, I've shown a powerful and extraordinary power. The two were stunned for a while. Pierce did not urge him either. Waiting for the two of them to absorb the information, he said. I don't know how long it took. Sitville slowly looked up. The eyes behind the glasses were swollen and flashing strangely. I have been dementia for 21 years and suddenly woke up, and it is no different from ordinary people. Suddenly, there is a powerful force. Aura is only one possibility. He is mutant A he has fought super ability in these 21 years it wasn't a trademark T until recently that it was fully controlled and was able to return to normal A. Chapter 39. I have to say that Sitville thought a little bit off. But it is quite different. It's just not super ability. But Ron's huge soul consciousness. Pierce looked at him and nodded slightly. He is worthy of being his subordinate. In such a short time, I thought about the key points. And it's very similar to what he thought. Sitville continued to ponder. Sir, I think we can recruit him. Pierce was surprised, looked at him and signaled him to continue. Sitville, first of all, he has been in a closed inner world for 21 years. Although it looks mature now, it is definitely much simpler than ordinary people. Pierce and Rumlow nodded. Express approval. 21 years. It's a whole teenager of a person. It is also the most important period in a person's life. Growth experience determines your personality when you grow up. And Ron is missing these 21 years. Therefore, his mind is definitely not mature enough now. At least, not like he showed. Simply put, it is easier to brainwash. Attracted by Hydra's beliefs. Secondly, Nick Fury will definitely send someone to contact, Sitville continued. After going through the Battle of New York, the role of the Avengers is revealed. He always wanted to expand the number of Avengers. Aaron is Tony Stark trademark S younger brother, a natural Avenger candidate. We can definitely take the opportunity to get in touch with Ron before Nick Fury, turn him into ours. It cannot be said how clever the plan of Sitville is. The main thing is to rely on the convenience of occupying the magpie's nest. Simple and effective. Because, they have done this many times. Otherwise, 90% of S.H.I.E.L.D. are Hydra people. Did he get the Hydra branded after birth? Not a little brainwashing. Compared to those mature guys. Ron is easier. While everyone in S.H.I.E.L.D. has their own ulterior motives. Villa Malibu. Another sleep, Tony from Awakening looking at Ron's wild side. It was simply stunned. No, is this his brother? Is this the one who loves to laugh and is like a gentleman? Could it be possessed by Hulk and Thor? Lightning surrounded his body, and the combat mode was exactly the same as Hulk. This guy, even Tony was confused after seeing it. No, can my own titanium alloy armor withstand his fists? Probably, it seems, maybe it can't stand it. Mom messed with Farkey. No. Come back and let Ron teach me how to do that discharge. If I learn it, wouldn't I be able to directly charge the steel battlesuit? Good guy. It's worthy of being Iron Man. It will discharge, but it is just thinking that it is more convenient to charge the armor. By the way, Ron asked me to investigate Maya Hansen. Hey? Why does this woman sound so familiar? Forget it, there are so many familiar women, it doesn't matter. But Ron said that creating the adamantium armor has to be put on the agenda. The world is getting more and more chaotic. Pepper should have given some security a long time ago. Thinking of this, he took out his phone and called Pepper. Hey? Tony? What's the matter with me? Well, it's me, Pepper, you take the time to come back. Is there anything wrong? I still have a lot to be busy with recently. No, I want to create an armor for you. Let's discuss what you like. I'm not free, I won't go back. And I don't need it either. Armor and armor all day long. You and armor come with the armor. Tony Stark, Mom. Hang up the phone. Pepper's chest was undulating violently. I kept scolding this phone. She was quite happy when she received the call. Tony rarely calls her. She thought Tony had gotten it. Take the initiative to ask her. She was still wondering whether she would push her recent job. Go back and have a candlelight dinner with Tony. In a romantic atmosphere, it would be natural to see something happening again. What's the result? BD guy. Without saying a few words, it was his armor. Did he forget that he was his girlfriend? The iron armor is his girlfriend? Don't think about climbing onto her bed again in the future. Just then. Pepper's cell phone rang again. She picked up her phone angrily. Just as I was about to connect to the scolding. Suddenly he paused. Not Tony. Take a few deep breaths to calm down. Pepper answered the phone. Hey, Killian. Sorry, I'm busy with work in recent days, I'm afraid I don't have time. Suddenly Pepper was stunned. Wait until I have time. Okay, wait for me to take a look. After looking through his work itinerary, Pepper replied. Let's meet in 3 days, and we will meet in the morning 3 days later. Yeah, that's it. Chapter 40. Outside the door. Ron, who came back from dating Gwen, heard Pepper's conversation clearly. His eyes narrowed slightly. Killian. Mandarin's behind the scenes. What kind of virus is under control? Are you planning to do something with Tony? There were terrorist attacks everywhere before. Ron is really not interested in it. Gunfight America, free every day. Just a little dead. I don't bother to watch Ancient One Magician. Let millions of people die, as long as the order of the earth does not collapse. Ron thinks so now. Live your own well. By the way, gain benefits and strengthen yourself in other worlds. As long as it does not affect yourself and the people you are close to, everything else doesn't matter. And among the people close to him, Pepper is one. No matter what, it will be his sister-in-law in the future. As the saying goes, delicious, ba 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 ba. The elder brother is like a father, and the elder sister-in-law is like a mother. If Howard hadn't picked him up, he would have died outside long ago. And Pepper is Howard, the assistant he chose for Tony. No matter how you say it, he can't even look at it. What's more, Pepper was injected with that virus in the end. The whole body can release thousands of degrees of high temperature. Although very powerful. But that's the case. Not to mention thousands of degrees, even tens of thousands of degrees cannot destroy the adamantium armor. Even if it still has the effect of restoring disability. But he has Connor's memory. Wait for him to reorganize the formula based on Gwen and Peter's blood. Not to mention rehabilitation of disability. Even various serums are easy to use. Lizard serum, spider serum, ant serum. Alive, extract the therapeutic effect from the serum. For seriously injured people, they can save their lives and be cured quickly. Wait and wait. There is no danger at all. That one is not better than that virus. But, 3 days later? I knocked on the door and heard a coming from inside. Ron pushed the door and walked in. Aaron, Pepper. Ron nodded. A man named Killian just asked you to meet. How do you know? Pepper was surprised. Ron pointed to his ear. I heard it. Did you hear it? She doesn't know her office yet. Close the door, no sound can be heard. Ron can actually hear it. She had no doubts. Ron won't lie to her. Instead, Pepper asked, is there anything wrong with Killian? Ron nodded, there's a big problem. He wants to take revenge on Tony and he wants to kidnap you. He made Mandarin on TV recently. He is behind the terrorist attack. What? Pepper covered his mouth. His face was full of shock. This is too irritating. But Ron had no reason to lie to her. It's so incredible. Ron smiled, don't worry, Tony will protect you. He also noticed something was wrong and planned to build you an adamantium armor. At that time, even if Hulk comes, there is nothing you can do about it. Just outside the door. He talks to Tony and Pepper. But I can hear it clearly. I have to help Tony anyway. Recover some image here in Pepper. At this moment, he noticed Pepper was stunned. The eyes showed complex expressions of surprise, joy, guilt, etc. Ron's lips curled. Finally he warned her. Let her be careful after Killian. Drive the armor and return to the villa. Villa Malibu is his home. If he remembered correctly, this Sea View villa was blown up. This time, he is here. I can't watch my home be destroyed. Enter the villa. I saw Tony and had entered the working state again. Obviously I slept a little and became much better. Hi Ron. Tony found him, too. He quickly threw down his tools and ran over. You're back. How did you do it when you fought with that lizardman? You were covered in lightning. Did you learn it in that ninja world? Can you teach me? If I learn it, I can charge the battlesuit by myself. Ron, listened to Tony's series of questions. He wanted to answer. But the last sentence was speechless. CO authored the last battle in New York. Are you addicted to using Thor power banks? If he remembers correctly. Thor had a lightning bolt, and it seemed to give him the power of the armor directly, and it worked 400%. Tell me quickly, can I learn? Tony urged. Ron shook his head, it shouldn't be. The number of people in the ninja world is more than that in the Marvel world. This is a natural surprise. What's more, there is no chakra in the ninja world at the beginning. Everything is brought by its Satsukiya trademark S chakra fruit. People in the Marvel world want to have chakra, it is simply a heavenly place. Ron suddenly paused. Not completely impossible. Chapter 41. Dr. Connor's biological research. Plus the human experiment of Tobirama Senju. If you can combine them yourself. Maybe it can be done? Next time I go to the ninja world and look for Orochimaru. He won't spend all his time on this. Just so happens that there is a tool, Orochimaru, which is useless. Seeing Ron dazed, Tony shook his head in disappointment. If not, then not. Anyway, Ida Euro trademark S not necessary to learn. Just as he was about to turn around and leave, he suddenly remembered Happy's phone number. By the way, Ron. Happy called me. He said, the person you asked him to arrange a few days ago is now healed. What are your plans? Or should I follow Happy first? After coming back to his senses, Ron was stunned. The one who asked Happy to arrange it. Who is it? Blinking, Ron suddenly realized. Oh, John Wick. It's so unpresented that I forgot him. Etc. John Wick? Isn't Euro trademark T this an experimental goal? Let him follow Happy first, I will contact him if I have a task. Tony nodded, oh, I'll beat Happy later. Hey? No, when will I become your assistant? You contact yourself. Halfway through, Tony rolled his eyes. How could a younger brother do this to his elder brother? It's simply against Tian Gang. Well. Ron looked at him in confusion. What's the wind? This is? Could it be that Pepper scolded him and kept his breathing? He shrugged, I forgot to tell you. I met Pepper before I came back. I told her that you want to tailor a armor for her. Help you get rid of the misunderstanding. Tony's face was suddenly filled with surprise. Ron waved his hand. No need to thank me. Just help me decorate a top-level laboratory. I'm going to make something. Knowing Ron helped him. Tony is having fun. He waved his hand indifferently. A small matter will be done for you tomorrow. Ron wasn't polite to him either. I have one more thing to do if I need your help. Tony, say. Ron did not hide it either. Take a full physical examination for Zhongcheng Science and Technology High School. The reason the lizardman may have virus residue I need to get, the blood of a student called Peter Parker okay, I understand, I'll send it to you tomorrow. Tony has no hesitation at all. I agreed directly. By the way, I asked one more question, are there any other goals? Do you want some from other schools? Do you want the blood of college students? Detective? Where is the agent? For Ron, he is unconditional support. As long as it is not to destroy the earth. It can be said that he gives whatever he wants. So, it's just a little blood. If you can. Even if you kill Nick Fury's black braised egg. He can do it even if Ron is a SHIELD director. Ron wasn't polite to him either. Before leaving, I mentioned it to him. Change your armor energy. The power is less than half. Tony will get everything ready tomorrow. There is plenty of time. Pepper can delay at least 3 more days. He still has time, so he can go to the ninja world and collect a corpse for Uchiha Madara. The great Buddha of Susato. It's still Uchiha Madara's Susan. If Senju Hashirama knew about it, he would definitely be very happy. I did a good thing myself. This dream of this good friend has come true. Night. Gwen just finished washing up. Suddenly received the message. Stark sponsors, all staff of the school will conduct a physical examination tomorrow. Detect for any virus residues from the lizard monster. Early detection, early prevention, early treatment. Stark sponsored? Gwen immediately took advantage of this reason and sent a video to Ron. I just miss him, and I don't trademark T have an excuse to look for him. Video is connected. Her pupils contracted. You, why don't you wear clothes? Ron was speechless, who takes a bath and wears clothes? Then why did you still answer the video when you take a shower? Gwen quickly covered his eyes. But the gap between the fingers, 2 big eyes kept blinking. Ron put his phone indifferently. You've touched it, are you still afraid to see it? What's the matter with me so late? Could it be that I just parted, and I missed me? Who misses you, shameless? Gwen thought so. He touched it all, and he checked Ron's whole body. What's wrong with looking at me? He won't suffer any loss if he is seen by a beautiful woman like himself. Then, simply put down the pretending hand. His big eyes flashed and he looked at it openly. But a blush appeared on his face. I still feel a little shy. In a place where Ron cannot see. 2 little feet, constantly push your toes hard on the bed sheet. The sheets were pleated out. Before Ron, she had never held a boy's hand. After meeting Ron, I almost experienced the first time between couples. Chapter 42. After taking a shower, Ron wiped it casually and walked out of the bathroom. He didn't say anything while taking a shower, nor did Gwen say anything. He glanced inadvertently. I found that Gwen was pitch black. 2 big eyes stared at the screen without blinking. All of them were straightforward. Until he finished taking a shower, he picked up his cell phone. He turned his head quickly. Pretend to be busy just now. I found that Ron had finished taking a shower and watched the video. It's just pretending too fake. The rosy on his face spread to his ears. The water in my eyes was filled with water. If it weren't for the phone, she would have to pounce on it. Ron thought about the angle of his phone when he was taking a shower. Well, no problem. Only the upper body was photographed. It's not just the upper body, it's not that I haven't seen it. As for this, it's really okay for you to look for me. Gwen quickly spoke, I have something to do. I want to ask if you did the physical examination tomorrow. Blood will be drawn during a physical examination. Her blood cannot be given to others casually. It's me. Ron said directly without hiding it. That big lizard man is Dr. Connors. Gwen was surprised, what? Dr. Connors. Ron nodded slightly, that's right. According to investigations, Connors has always wanted to recover his broken arm. So, when studying lizard serum, I want to put the self-healing ability integrated of the lizard. Obviously, his experiment was not successful, or half of it. Gwen suddenly realized, so that's the case. She knows about lizard gene experiments. I also know that Dr. Connors has only half of his arm left. She was given as an assistant. I often help with experiments with guinea pigs. Connors pays special attention to each experiment. There was obvious excitement and expectation in his eyes. But every time it fails, Dr. Connors would roar in anger. In the video, Ron is dressed. It cannot be said that he has completely failed. At least his broken arm has recovered after becoming a big lizard. This shows that his experiment direction is correct. Thinking about the scene of today's battle, Gwen nodded. Ron continued. So, I plan to take over his experiment. Continue this experiment. Ah. Gwen was stunned. Then his face was full of worry. Ron, you are so strong, don't you? If you fail, won't you become a big lizard? Ron smiled. What do you think? I didn't say I'll use it myself. Also, have you ever thought about it? Where did your ability come from? Gwen is a top student. Ron said this at this moment. She was stunned, then her eyes suddenly widened. There are barbs that can be climbed on your hands. And spider telepathy. Instinctively chose cobweb as a tool. She thought it was because she was bitten by a spider. A subconscious choice. She looked at Ron in shock. Can you bite my spider and carry spider serum? Ron nodded slightly, this is my guess. But it's very likely. It is precisely because of your successful example. I'm just going to continue the experiment. Gwen said with a serious expression after being shocked. I support you, and you can call me anytime if you need it. I will go for a physical examination tomorrow. When you compare it with my blood, you should find it. Ron smiled softly, don't worry, I'm the first to tell you. Okay, I'll wait for your good news. Gwen had a smile on her face. Tell yourself the secrets if you like. That sense of trust made her happy. Besides, I also helped Ron a lot. The next day. Ron just finished lunch. Then I received a notice from JARVIS. Tony has already done his lab. All the materials he needed were put into the laboratory. Including blood for physical examination. Ron was shocked. It's worthy of being Stark. What he wants is a top lab place in any company. It will take at least 1 week to fully configure all the equipment. If there is insufficient energy, it may not be fully equipped for half a year. He couldn't wait to enter the laboratory. With Connor's memory and Tomomi Senjo's experimental experience. Quickly entered the state. Whether it is machine use or material preparation. All are extremely skilled. Just like a long-time-old researcher. There was no pause. Analysis Peter Parker's blood. Put the discoveries in the blood into the serum formula. Ron was shocked. It was indeed the core secret specially hidden by Richard Parker and his wife. With Peter Parker's blood. He can make serum too. Then Ron picked up Gwen's blood again. After parsing. He looked at the result in surprise. So that's the case. Chapter 43. In theory, the results of Richard Parker couple. It must be left for your children. This is indeed the case. It is impossible for anyone to adapt except Peter Parker. But Gwen is an exception. Her genes are absolutely inclusive. That is to say. It's not just spider serum. Other serums can also be accepted by her genes, integrated. It is a unique existence that is not one in a million. If she had been in contact with Hulk's blood at that time. She will also become a female Hulk without any danger. This is the secret hidden in Gwena Euro trademark S gene. But it's not possible now. The spider gene has been integrated. Her genes have changed a bit. Not as absolute inclusive as ordinary people. The rejection and differences should be considered. But even so. Her genes are more adaptable to other super ability than everyone else. So am I? Can I give Gwen strength? The thought flashed through Ron's mind. He temporarily put it behind his mind. Spider-Gwen has great potential. In the future, based solely on the upper limit of physical strength, there should be senior shadow level. That is, it is more than 2000 combat power. You know, Peter Parker once did it, pulling a train running at high speed with bare hands. Ron can't do it now anyway. If you want to stop it. At least he must be a senior film level. You can only use Susanum to open it or use the art of a wooden man. And Spider-Man at that time was not the pinnacle of his potential. The impact of the train is not as powerful as that of the Leviathan monster of Zidori. It's not far from that. If you reach the peak. After stopping the train, you can be exhausted, but you will never fall into a coma. This is also the origin of his Little Hulk title. To talk about shortcomings. That is, like Hulk. Apart from the simple attack method, there are almost no disadvantages. So, there is time to strengthen Gwen. Eat a Euro trademark S. Better to give yourself strength or strengthen a few trusted subordinates first. For example, John Wick. With the core formula. Ron only took half an hour to make a lizard serum. Not the semi-finished product that Connors injected. It is the real lizard serum. After injection, strengthening the body. At least not weaker than Connors becoming a big lizard. The main thing is that you won't lose your mind. Moreover, there can be two forms. One is the form of a lizard. Similar to Connor's transformation. Fight with your claws and tail. Strong strength, at least hundreds of tons of strength. The strength of the body is not to mention. Defensive light thermal weapons are a breeze. Definitely, heavy sniping like Barrett is not possible. After all, that thing is made of armored vehicles. After turning into a lizard, shoot the center or head with one shot. No matter how strong the self-healing ability is, it will be dead. Not everyone is Wolverine. There is also a human form. Moderate strength, strength defense, etc., only 20% of the lizard form. But various weapons and equipment can be used. Relatively speaking, the combat mode is more flexible and changeable. It's not a good form. It is completely related to the user's own combat habits. Definitely, the effect of serum is also related to the user's potential. If it's the Punisher Frank with a normal person. Both of them were injected with serum. That must be a greater improvement for the Punisher. John Wick, a top killer who is no less than Frank. A Euro Armor. Stark A Euro. Inside Ron's lab. John Wick stood respectfully. Ron is sorting out the information. It was him who prepared to go to the ninja world and handed it to Orochimaru. The world of Marvel is in great crisis. The ninja world is not small either. All alien powerhouses invade. They are all unrivaled. Being able to travel between the two realms freely, Ron has long regarded the ninja world as his back garden. It will be good for him to become stronger in the ninja world. He also didn't intend to conquer the entire ninja world. It's peaceful, where will he find the body? You can't massacre in your back garden, right? This is the decision Ron made after killing Connors. A big lizard comparable to a shadow-level physical ninja. The source energy that turns into after death. He only added 30 points of combat power to him. It's simply outrageous. Lee Dashu. If he hadn't been proficient in Thunder Escape Chakra mode. Under the quenching body of Thunder Escape. His combat power increased by 49 points to 479. Add these 30 points later. It barely reached 509, reaching the shadow level. He had to absorb at least 2 shadow level powerhouses before he could break through to the shadow level. This proves that it is becoming increasingly difficult to improve in the future. Unless by chance. If you encounter a corpse of a top strong man, let him absorb it. For example, Ancient One who was voluntarily killed. Forget it, I dare not move this. They just die in their body, but not in their soul. If I feel that I have desecrated her body, it would be too late for the soul to appear and kill himself. Therefore, we have to find a way in the ninja world. Chapter 44. I stood motionless for more than an hour. John Wick was not at all impatient. Finally, Ron finished his work. Holding a serum in his hand, he turned around. This is lizard serum, the effect. J.A.R.V.I.S. Ron snapped his fingers, and J.A.R.V.I.S immediately released a projection. It was the scene where Connors fought Gwen. John Wick looked at it with concentration. He has heard of Spider-Woman. A new street hero in New York. He is stronger than ordinary people, but he is still within the range of killing. He didn't understand this, and some people wanted to definitely do it. John Wick is not stupid. Ron just said that lizard serum was released. Obviously, it has something to do with the lizard monster. He focused on watching the lizard monster. Sharp claws, powerful power. Super recovery ability. There is also the defense that seems to be wearing a piece of armor. The projection only has the previous clip. The part when Ron played was intercepted by JARVIS. So soon, the projection ended. How do you feel? Ron stared at him. John Wick nodded seriously. Very strong. However, I see it as if it has lost its mind. If I were to prepare, I would be 50% sure I could kill it. Ron nodded slightly, if it were someone who was about the same as you. He turned into a lizard. How sure are you still in the absence of your sanity? John Wick pondered for a few seconds. Shake your head slowly, less than 10%. It's still the case that he knows nothing about my information. If he knew me, it might be only 1%. 1% is favored by fate. If you don't think about luck, his chance of being counterattacked is 100%. And the other party is seriously injured at most. Ron nodded, very pertinent. Connors used to be a soldier. Although it's just a military doctor. But it is also far stronger than ordinary people. John Wick is 50% sure to kill him as he transformed into a lizard man. It has proven that John Wick is powerful. This lizard serum can turn you into a lizard man. It's the modified finished product. The effect is stronger than the one on the screen and there will be no side effects in the specific case, you can only try it yourself after injection. This is my chance. If you're still willing to follow me, use it. If I don't want to, I won't make things difficult for you. Ron finished speaking and handed the serum to him. John Wick's eyes were firm. There is no hesitation at all. After taking the serum, he tore off the clothes and tied them on his shoulders. The severe pain made John Wick scream. His face turned bloody. The corners of the eyes collapsed. The teeth were clenched and bleeding came from the corner of the mouth. For a moment, his facial features and 7 orifices were bleeding. All the exposed skin were bulging. Hold your hands tightly. The muscles are tight and restrain yourself from moving. That kind of pain comes from the depths of the bone marrow. It was like there was a brush in his flesh. Flash against the bones constantly. Brush his flesh into pieces, one by one. However, under this severe pain, John Wick still maintained his sanity. Ron nodded with satisfaction. Data is also being recorded. Convenient to improve next time. The first time I made it, it was a bit large. But the effect will be better if the quantity is large. Not a good or bad. I can only say that for those with a firm will, the more the better. Over time, John Wick began to appear green scales on his body. Then more and more, all over the whole body. Body shape shifting. From less than 2 meters, it has grown sharply to 3.5 meters. The limbs became thick and powerful. All hands and feet turned into sharp claws. A huge amounts of tail grew out and all the clothes shattered. Ron took a look. From beginning to end, the body length is close to 6 meters. It seems to be even more powerful than Connors becoming a lizard. The only downside is that they are all so ugly. Flat facial features and bare head. It can be seen that it is John Wick. At this moment, John Wick's eyes were ferocious. The physical pain disappeared. But the extreme pain brought his spirit to the limit. After a sudden relaxation, anger filled the pupils. There was only Ron in front of him. Looking at Ron, he raised his paw and patted him down. It was about to be photographed by Ron's head. The hideous eyes regained a hint of spirit. The claw stopped suddenly. Ron Stark, sir, Sorry, my, mental, a little, trance, I. Not finished speaking yet. John Wick closed his eyes. His head tilted and he fell to the ground. Fainted. As he fainted, his body changed rapidly. Soon, it was back to its original state. Ron picked him up with one hand. Put it on the lab bench. He plugged in various instruments and started to do genetic tests for him. Looking at the various data popping up, Ron smiled. A trademark S perfect A. Chapter 45. Lizard Serum, effect on John Wick. Perfectly met his expectations. No, to be precise, exceeded expectations. When both forms are all available. Because Ron's dosage increases, John Wick's strength has been greatly enhanced. If Connors became the Lizardman, the combat power is over 500. Then John Wick's combat power must be at least 800. Don't a trademark T look at it only has 300 more. In fact, John Wick can beat Connors 3. And because of the dosage and potential. In the future, John Wick's strength will improve. Until his potential limit. Ron can't guess how much it is. However, it can definitely reach more than 1500 combat power. It is also possible to reach 2000. Comparing hatred at the peak is not a problem. And what surprised Ron even more? It's not just the lizard's form that has become stronger. The human form has also become stronger. It reached 1/3 of the lizard form. This means, even in human form, John Wick can also withstand bullets. Good. Ron, what are you doing? Tony brought Pepper to find him. He needs to find Ron to confirm the news about what Ron told them. Good preparations for Killian. But as soon as I came here, see the lab scene clearly. Tony's pupils suddenly shrank. He quickly turned around and covered Pepper's eyes. Don't look at Pepper. Fake. Ron, how could there be a fruit man in your laboratory? A strong man. Lying motionless on the laboratory bench. He was wearing nothing, and the floor was covered with fragments of clothes. The body is covered with various detection instruments. How wild was this trademark just now? You can't let Pepper see it. Pepper can only look at his fruit body. A euro Ron just happened to have finished checking. He opened the door and walked out. When I arrived at the living room, I poured a cup of coffee. Why are you here? Away from the lab, Tony let go of Pepper. Is Killian's thing true? Ron took a sip of coffee. It's true. Tony asked, do you have a way to deal with it? Ron widened his eyes, do you know what you're talking about? You are superhero Iron Man. Defend the supervillain, definitely want you to come. Tony rolled his eyes, I am your brother. You just say help or not. Ron twitched, didn't I tell you the solution? Tony's eyes lit up, what? Ron, build the adamantium armor. Killian's ability will turn itself into a magma. The temperature can reach thousands of degrees. As long as your armor can withstand 10,000 degrees of magma, killing him is not the same as playing a euro for adamantium, let alone 10,000 degrees a euro even if it's tens of thousands of degrees, don't want it to shapeshift. At that time, you are matching a cold weapon and just take one knife. Tony was stunned. He looked at each other with Pepper. It's that simple. Ron focused, it's that simple. Only when the strength is not enough, you can use your brain. If you have enough strength, you will be reckless. Look at Hulk and Thor, when did they both touch their brains? Tony. After a few seconds of silence, Tony frowned. What I said, seems to make some sense. If you don't have enough strength, you need wisdom. Hey. Ron. Who do you think is not strong enough? Suddenly, Tony stared at Ron angrily. If they have the strength of both of them, don't you need to use your brain? They need to have a brain. The brain is full of muscles. The two people's brains combined are not as big as a walnut. You actually used me to compare them. You are insulting my IQ. Ron raised his eyebrows. Then don't use my method. Oh by the way, Killian has already set his sights on Pepper, guess what he would do? Ron's words surprised the two. Tony also fell silent. If it were him, I'll arrest Pepper. Then inject her with that virus, so she will be the same type of person as me. Hearing Ron's words, Tony seemed to see Pepper being arrested. Hold Pepper's hand tightly. His eyes were solemn, I will protect Pepper. Ron, you can't be by her side all the time. Tony, I will build an armor and stay by her side. Ron, your armor can't withstand the high temperatures of thousands of degrees. If caught, there is a steamer inside. Tony, I will improve. A euro Earth best insulation is installed inside. A euro is adamantium outside. A euro halfway through, he suddenly stopped. Isn't this Ron's solution? He pursed his lips and looked at Ron. Ron shrugged at him. Drink the coffee in one sip and turn away. Behind him came Tony's shout. Ron. I'm your brother. I don't care. Yours is mine. Ron waved his hand, you said yes. By the way, if you are not sure, let John Wick be your bodyguard for the time being. He has already injected lizard serum. Chapter 46. Lizard serum? Tony suddenly remembered the big lizard that Ron smashed to death. But at the moment Ron has gone far. He didn't want to chase after him and ask. A.A.R.V.I.S, what is lizard serum? Pepper also looked puzzled. J.A.R.V.I.S, sir, this is the video Ron asked me to show you. A projection appeared in front of the two. Mom messed with Fark. On the other side, Ron has entered the space. Just after his combat power reached 500. There was a change in the space. On the edge of the vortex of the ninja world, a new vortex appeared. At the same time, there have also been new changes on his personal panel. A Euro traveling the world, to a Euro this means that he has a new world that can travel through? Ron thought for a moment. Mad. What am I hesitating? Isn't it the new world? No matter what world he is. Go in and take a look. I have traveled through time with my clothes, and I am still hesitating. So what does it mean to wear it? Uchiha Madara died early, and it would be useless to go to the ninja world. Eat a Euro trademark S better to go to the new world. Ron returns to the lab. Put it all into space if you can use it. With the armor, he stepped into the vortex in one step. Mysterious Falls Town. High school. Sir, do you want to come to us as a teacher? Yes. Sorry, your documents are incomplete, and many of them are blank, and there is no immunization certificate yet. Please take a closer look. My ID should be enough, right? In a pair of scarlet eyes, 3 magmas were constantly rotating. The black woman in front of him suddenly looked dull. Slowly lower your head and flip the blank document in front of you. A few seconds later, you are right, I am indeed wrong. Welcome to join, Mr. Ron Stark. Ron smiled on his face, it's a privilege. Come to the new world. Discovering it is a modern world. Ron connects the smart system to the internet as soon as possible. By the way, I arranged an identity for myself. Even the duplication of JARVIS. It also explodes the internet in this world. Then, when determining where you are, he saw a familiar name. Mysterious Falls Town. The name of this town made him confirm this new world. It is the popular American drama Vampire Diary. It tells that more than 100 years ago, a pair of brothers fall in love with the same woman, Catherine. As a result, she was a vampire and eventually turned both of them into vampires. More than 100 years later, they met a girl who looked exactly like Catherine. Elena. The follow-up story is very messy. Ron didn't look closely. The plot doesn't matter. As long as you know, it is enough to have extraordinary power in this world. Step out of the office. Ron saw a man walking towards him. Deep eyes, high nose bridge. She looks pretty sunny and handsome. However, the whole body exuded a cold aura. Vampire. Ron felt no human blood in him. A vampire that doesn't suck human blood. It seems to be that vampire brother, Stefan. He is so principled, but he is not easy to start. The man just entered the office. A familiar conversation came out again. Your files are incomplete and there is no immunization certificate. Moreover, we have to look at the transcript. Please take a closer look. Ron's eyes twitched as he listened to the conversation inside. It's too difficult to be a teacher here. Escape the spirit at any time. Hypnotic ability. It's only 2 minutes before and after. Twice. Hello, are you a new student? Suddenly, a crisp inquiry sound came from Ron's ears. Ron turned his head. They are 2 girls. The person who speaks is a delicate and 3-dimensional facial features. Delicate skin. Like a girl who is about to bloom unopened roses. Wearing a leather jacket with a thin red shirt inside. Long shawl hair hanging from her chest. At this moment, he was looking at him with a slight shyness. The big eyes blinked, as if they could speak. The heroine, Elena. As for the other, it's her best friend. A girl with brown skin, a little bit full of energy. Appearance, slight. Looking at the 2 people in front of him, Ron smiled. No, I'm a new teacher, biology teacher. Ah, I'm sorry, teacher. Elena looked embarrassed. Unexpectedly, I saw a strange handsome guy. I wanted to get to know each other. It turned out to be a new teacher. It's okay, I'm not much older than you. Don't be too nervous, just treat me as a friend. Ron smiled slightly and stretched out his right hand. Meet, hello, my name is Ron, Ron Stark. Elena reached out to hold Ron. Hello, my name is Elena Gilbert. Experience the soft and boneless smoothness in the palm of your hand. Ron raised his eyebrows. Look, we'll know each other now. If you need help in the future, please feel free to find me. As a teacher, there are many privileges. Feeling the warmth of Ron's big hands, Elena's little face turned slightly red. The eyes were unconsciously removed. Suddenly, she glanced at her younger brother and her expression changed. Sorry, I have to leave first. After saying that, she ran straight towards the men's bathroom. Chapter 47. Sorry, Mr. Stark, I'll go see what's going on. In place. Elena's best friend, that brown girl. After seeing Elena leave, he looked at Ron with an apology. He reached out and grabbed Ron gently. Just touched. She suddenly changed color. He quickly let go, looking like he wanted to escape. Chasing Elena. With his back to Ron. Her eyes flashed, full of incredibleness. A Euro red eyes? A Euro trademark. A Euro. A huge wooden man 100 meters high? A Euro trademark. A Euro. There are countless lightnings surrounding you. A Euro trademark. A Euro. It can easily destroy the entire town. A Euro trademark. A Euro. Who is he? A Euro trademark. And at this moment, a figure followed her. I think Elena seems to have entered the men's bathroom. It should be inconvenient for you to go in, so I'd better go and have a look. The sound in her ears shocked her whole body. She stopped quickly without disobeying Ron's words. He lowered his head, dared not look directly at Ron. Okay. I'm sorry, teacher. No trouble. Ron kept pace. Walking to the men's bathroom. Elena's friend seems to be a psychic? Which? Have a perception ability. She should have perception reached my strength. If the perception arrives, then the perception arrives. In this world, except for the unknown vampire ancestor, nothing can cause danger to me, either. The upper limit of power is not high. But Ron is still very curious about vampires and werewolves. Especially the resilience that is a bug. And the ability of eternal life. I don't know if it can be made into serum. Jeremy, you're really great. You took drugs in class the first day. I don't. Say, where did you hide? Take it out. Stop flipping. I don't. Can you calm down? Let me calm down. Look at your appearance. You're already having fun now, right? Come to the toilet door. Ron heard the conversation inside. Sure enough, she is worthy of being a Melika's teenager. No matter what world you are in. Taking drugs, picking up girls, and loving are all the main themes. Push the door and walk in. Elena, do you need my help? Oh? Ron, you, me, him. I just saw my younger brother's condition and was too angry. Without thinking, he rushed into the men's bathroom. Now seeing Ron, Elena was at a loss. Ron walked in with a smile. I know, he is your brother, Jeremy. Elena was surprised, how do you know? Ron pointed to the door, I heard it outside the door. Also, don't you think this place is not suitable for conversation? Let's go out first and then talk about it. Elena nodded, a Ron looked at Jeremy, Jeremy. After a few seconds of silence, Jeremy lowered her head and said, let's go. The three of them just walked out of the men's bathroom. Hit someone head on. Ron smiled and said, sorry, let me go. Okay. Stefan just turned sideways. Suddenly I saw Elena behind Ron. The whole person was stunned for a moment. Then the eyes seemed to be caught by a magnet. Staring at Elena without blinking. Sorry, this old gentleman who looks like a vampire. Ron patted him on the shoulder. The words he said shocked his mind and his pupils shrank violently. Elena is a little girl who is only 18 years old. You can't eat young grass and old cows. After saying that, he ignored Stefan's shock. Ron took Elena and the other ones and walked past him. Elena's puzzled voice came. Ron, why do you call him old gentleman? Ron said casually, he's the old man. Elena, but he looks like he is not as big as you. Ron blinked. Some people, you can't just look at the appearance. Just like me, she looks sunny and handsome, humorous and loved by everyone. In fact, inner, is better than outer. Elena exclaimed. You said so much to praise yourself. Ron laughed. No, I mean, don't look at the surface, but the heart. Elena gave him a blank look. I see that your heart is just narcissism. Ron patted her head lightly. No. If you could see my heart, you will find that there is a beauty inside, who looks exactly like you. Elena blushed, slapped Ron's hand away and ran forward. Ron, your love words come casually, like a scumbag, I want to stay away from you. Looking at Elena's youthful back. The little chalk pores twisted and twisted. Ron shrugged his shoulders to Jeremy beside him. Life is actually wonderful, don't always immerse yourself in the past. Enjoy now is what you should do. Humph. What do you know? Jeremy snorted coldly and turned to leave. Chapter 48. From May last year to now. Elena has never been as happy as she is today. May 23, 2009. There was a car accident in their family. All parents were killed. Only she and her younger brother Jeremy survived. Since then, she has never been able to get out of her grief. Only today. Ron with a smile appeared in her mind. So young, he turned out to be a teacher. What a special person. Suddenly, Elena discovered that Ron was not just in her imagination. Elena. He also came out of his mind. Coming to her eyes. He was smiling at her. Still calling her name. Elena, the teacher is calling you. Suddenly, the classmate next to her pulled her arm. Wake up suddenly. She found that it was not a fantasy. Ron is really on the podium. He was smiling and looking at her. Student Elena Gilbert. What are you thinking, boyfriend? Elena's pretty face turned red. Aaron, teacher, Ron waved his hand and asked her to sit down. My name is Ron Stark. From today, you will be your biology teacher. A classmate raised his hand. Ron, where is our previous biology teacher? Ron laughed, I resigned when I was sick. Well, I resigned after being passively ill. A pleasant day passed. After school. Elena finds Ron. Sorry, Ron. I was distracted in your class, and Jeremy's rudeness. Ron had long forgotten these two things. He kept thinking, taking time to get some vampire blood and do a research. See Elena now. His eyes lit up. Pretend to feel uncomfortable. Elena, you and Jeremy deeply hurt my heart. Apology alone is not enough to make up for it. Elena couldn't tell that he was pretending. Cute rolled her eyes. Then he frowned. Then you say, How can you forgive me? Ron touched his chin and pretended to think. Well, you have a walk with me and have a meal together. Elena showed confusion. Sorry, Ron, I didn't mean to reject you. A trademark. I'm going to the cemetery. Okay, let's go together. Ron looked down at her eyes. If it's very difficult, forget it. Elena shook her head. Don't be embarrassed. The two walked out of school together. Not far behind. The two of them watched the two of them leaving. His face looked extremely ugly. On the way, the two were shoulder to shoulder, sniffing the fragrance of Elena's hair. Ron glanced around inadvertently. He noticed more than one gaze. Since leaving school, I have been following them. There was at least one vampire among them. It seems that I have no shortage of experimental materials. Aaron, what are you looking at? Elena looked back with Ron's eyes. Nothing was found. Ron blinked his eyes and rolled his eyes. I'm looking at your shadow. What's so good about the shadow? Elena looked at the shadow in confusion. It's ordinary. Ron said softly, no, it tells me that you are sad. Learn, it's all skills. Elena's heart trembled. Looking up at Ron. He frowned slightly, and a tear was in his eyes. He quickly raised his head, closed his eyes, and took a few deep breaths. No tears were allowed to flow down. There was no sign that told him. It's just that he is caring about himself. The next moment, Elena opened her eyes. There was a hint of intimacy in Ron's eyes. He spoke up about his own affairs. Trademark. I'm going to see my parents at the cemetery. 4 months ago, they died in a car accident. A deep sadness appeared on her face again. Suddenly, she caught a glimpse of Ron's expression. Plain, no fluctuation. It was like what she said, just a casual chat. A feeling of discomfort suddenly arose in my heart. Being a friend. A friend's parents died. Even if you don't trademark T comfort yourself, you shouldn't trademark T be expressionless. Editor Stark, if you don't trademark T want to go to the cemetery, I can't me parents died, too. Ron spoke suddenly. The voice was dull, but Elena was stunned. What did you say? Ron spoke lightly. I was abandoned when I was infancy. I don't know who my biological parents are. Elena was in a state of irritation for a moment. Don't know what to say. My situation is very sad. But Ron's is even more miserable. I actually met such cruel parents. Ron smiled. But fortunately, I was saved by my adoptive parents and survived. They are such good people. Elena breathed a sigh of relief. A smile appeared on his face, happy for Ron. They are dead, too. Ron's plain words made Elena's smile froze directly on his face. Chapter 49. Ron seemed to have not seen Elena's expression. He continued while walking forward. I just adopted me shortly. They also had a car accident and died on the spot. I was raised by their biological son, my brother. I have never called dad nor mom and I have never said a word to them. Just in the photos, I saw them. Every time Ron said something, Elena's heart trembled. The dull voice contained the ultimate sadness. Listen to Ron's miserable life story. She regretted it a little. Why did I suddenly get angry with Ron just now? It's simply too much. She actually blamed Ron for not comforting herself. Monster Ron has no expression on his face. His tone was plain and his expressionless face was unspoken. It was just a sign of his sadness. The appearance is dull. I'm afraid my heart has been filled with grief. At this moment, she had no other emotions in her heart. All guilt. I wish I could hold Ron in my arms. Singing children's songs to comfort him. Let him cry in his arms. She turned around and hugged Ron. Sorry, Ron. Ron raised his eyebrows and patted her on the back. I just want to tell you sadness should not be the main theme of life. They are gone, and you should live every day more happily. Only in this way can they feel at ease. Listening to Ron, Elena hugged her tighter. His hands tightly wrapped around Ron's waist. He was very reluctant to rub himself into Ron's body. She clearly heard Ron's heartbeat. Strong and powerful. She held her heart tightly to Ron. It seems that this makes her feel that two broken hearts gradually merge into one. Healing Ron himself, he is also healed. It's like two injured cats licking each other's wounds. I don't know how long it took. She lay on Ron's chest, experiencing Ron's strong figure. Suddenly I heard Ron speak. We have to go to the cemetery, otherwise it will be too late. Ah. Elena hurriedly came out of Ron's arms. Looking at the setting sun in the west. Oh, it's so late. Ron, we need to be quicker. I'm late to go back, and I'll be told by my aunt. Elena took Ron's hand and trotted all the way. Arrived at the cemetery. In front of Elena's parents' grave. Elena gently brushed away the dead leaves on it with her hands. My mom and dad, trademark. I'm very happy today, really happy. Trademark. I met an interesting person named Ron Stark, a rare surname. Trademark. He has a very miserable life experience. Trademark. I will definitely live well in the future and get out of my sadness. Trademark. You must bless me and Jeremiah and Ron. Trademark. Ron stood aside and looked at Elena, who was contemplative. His eyes moved slightly and he glanced at the mist that appeared at some point under his feet. Aaron, we can go. Elena habitually pulled Ron's hand. A happy smile on his face. Ron shook his head. Elena, we can't leave for the time being. Someone, or, there are vampires, don't want us to leave. What? Vampire? Elena subconsciously looked at Ron. Follow his eyes. Hey? When did it fog? She realized that there was a thick fog under her feet at some point. There was a vast white area everywhere. Now I have lost my ankle. The fog is still rising. It's about to cover the calf. Ron pulled Elena to her side. He looked around with a chuckling look on his face. Don't run around, stand by me. There are two little bats around and they are eyeing you. Ron's words and at the moment's posture made her feel a little strange. She knew Ron was a secret person. But now is not the time to ask about these. She stood obediently behind Ron. Both hands clutched Ron's clothes. Looking around nervously. Don't you come out yet. Ron looked around. I have to say that if you don't Euro trademark T open the Sharingan. It's really hard for him to spot a hidden vampire. Not to mention other ability, this hidden ability alone is extraordinary. Who are you? Suddenly, Stefan appeared and stood not far in front of the two. Staring at Ron. You are the new classmate who came yesterday. Elena exclaimed. New classmates in their class. The person I met at the toilet door. Ron wasn't kidding at the time. Really a vampire? Isn't this a creature that only exists in the novel? Stefan looked at Elena unnaturally. This girl who is exactly the same as Catherine makes him unable to ignore it. Ron didn't answer him. There is one more? Why don't you come out? A euro a c to euro a euro a euro bang. A euro trademark halfway through, Ron turned around. He grabbed Damon's neck. He held him in the air like he was catching a rabbit. Are you ready to attack? Chapter 50. Damon. Stefan exclaimed. Looking at the person being held in Ron's hand. Very unbelievable. Ah. A strong wind came from his ears, which scared Elena screamed. But soon, she found that she was being held in a warm embrace. A familiar breath. Familiar touch. Stop touching, Elena, pay attention to the occasion. Ron's words made Elena blush. Can she blame this? Who made Ron so attractive? Who can stand this? I have to say that the muscles are so elastic the two were flirting. But Damon, who was pinched by Ron, looked shocked. At this moment, countless plants broke out from the ground. From his feet, spread upwards. It was like a python, tied him up firmly. Vampires in this world. What I fear the most is the sun. If you are directly exposed to the sun, you will be burned to death. But they all have sunlight rings. Wear a ring and you can walk in the sunlight. The second weakness is a plant called verbena. After eating, you will lose all over. Definitely, there is no special restraint. As long as you don't Euro trademark T eat too much and suck some blood, you can recover. The third is that wood pierces the heart. As long as the heart is pierced by wood. Regenerative healing factor will also die instantly. It can be said that Ron's wood dilemma, Tien defeated them. Now Ron has reached the level of shadow, as long as he wants. In an instant, half of the town was covered with wood escape. At this moment, there were countless sharp wooden thorns in front of Damon. Facing his chest. The threat of death made him instinctively want to escape. Can be used as a vampire who sucks blood. His power is far above Stefan. He tried his best, but he couldn't even move. By Damon. Ron also measured the strength of vampires in this world. Damon has about 200 combat power. That is the strength of the Supreme Ninja. One-on-one challenge to Connor's Lizardman. You can only rely on speed to deal with it. Just like Gwen. Whenever he is close, Connors will be slightly injured at most. And he will be torn to pieces. And Stefan on the other side. The combat power is only in the early 100s. Connors can play 10 at 1. Such a guy is returned to his original origin by space. Not even increasing combat power. At most, provide him with memories. What's the use of the 1 or 200 years of memory he wants to vampires? It's a terrible brain burden. Too weak. Ron waved his hand and a flame spurted out of his hand. The fog in the cemetery was instantly cleared. This scene made Damon and Stefan's pupils tremble. Damn it. Where did the horror guy come from? Not only is there a witch-like ability, but also a powerful body. It can also control plants, it is like the natural enemy of vampires. Mom messed with Farkey. This world is crazy. When did even vampires appear in natural enemies? Ron raised his hand and made a move. A golden and red armor fell from the sky. In their hearts, a tracking signal is injected. Okay, sir. The steel armor responded. First, I came to Deming. Align the heart. In Damon's horror, a syringe was inserted into his chest. 2 seconds later. The syringe is extracted. Turn around and walk towards Stefan. Stefan's expression changed slightly, and he turned around and was about to run away. Stefan, if I were you, I wouldn't have run away. You see my strength. You don't want me to kill your brother, and the whole world is chasing vampires, right? The vampire's ability is strange. The speed is very fast, but the physical defense is not high. Like Ron, high-speed movement, there will inevitably be a sonic boom. Similarly, want to bear the sonic boom. There must be a strong body. His defense is not much worse than that of the lizardman. Punched through 10 centimeters of steel plate with one punch. The fist was not damaged at all. But vampires, let alone knives or bullets. Even sharpened wooden sticks can pierce the body. They run more like walking with the wind. Manipulate the wind and help them move quickly. It's fast, but it's extremely small. I can't hear much of the wind, but more of the footsteps. Such a guy insists on hiding, and Ron is not easy to find. Who are you? Stefan's steps stopped. Ron, you will know later. Stefan looked at Damon with a complicated face. Finally he sighed and stood there motionless. Close your eyes and no resistance. Listen to the steel armor coming to his side. A stinging pain came from the chest. Turning around is fleeting. Opening his eyes again, the golden and red armor had soared into the sky. Ron's hand flickered, and there were strange glasses. Put it on your eyes and gently press it to the edge. A simple radar projected into the eyes. On the radar, 1 green dot and 2 red dots are clearly visible. Ron nodded with satisfaction. Okay, you can leave. Don't think of running away, nor do you think of finding the signal. That thing is smaller than your cells. Unless you take out the heart and crush it all. This is the experimental material he finally found. I have to look for it again after I die. Too troublesome. The two brothers did not dare to stop at all and disappeared in an instant. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you are notified of future uploads. You can find the next parts in the playlist visible on the screen or on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.